Hello everybody, this is AK. I'm back. So look at the thumbnail and we know this is going to be another property market video. Last week I produced a series of videos on the property market, and there were many people who didn't like the videos, and many people who didn't believe, disbelieve, and well, it's natural because when things are going very well, usually it's hard to believe people who say that things could go bad and that we should be careful, right? And it's normal, right? Human beings, some of us have bad memory. Like AK, I have a bad memory. Some of us have rather good memory, but they are short memories. That means they can't remember things from a long time ago. And some people have very selective memories. For whatever reason, they just choose to remember certain things and not remember some other things. And some people have no memory, right? And these are the people who are the young people, because things happen before their time. Of course, they don't remember. They can't possibly remember things that happened before they were around, right? Or when they were very young, maybe, right? So now the advantage of having a blog is that I archive things, right, that happened in the past, and I have to look at them from time to time to remind myself of what has happened in the past. And this thing about property market being cyclical and to buy or not to buy, well, I'm not telling people whether they should buy now or they shouldn't buy now. Okay, everyone's circumstances are different. We have different needs, we have different requirements, we have different wants, and we have different circumstances. Right? Some people can hold on to something that's loss making, and they can ride it out until finally sees the light at the end of the tunnel. And many people halfway they have to give up, right, because they're unable to hold on, or some of them just want to give up because they're unwilling to hold on. Okay, so we are all different. Okay, I'm not telling anyone what to do. I'm just sharing my experience and sharing my memories. Okay, and if you want to continue listening to me, here we go. So in the video, in one of the videos last week, a viewer said, "First time I heard about this. Interesting take. But demanding 6.6% rental yield is on the high side, don't you think?" And I said, 6.6% rental yield is sensible. It isn't high at all when risk-free rate is 4% to 5%. Right? People got used to the low interest rate environment that we had until 18 months ago. Right? That's why when interest rate was like 1%, 1.25%, people could accept a rental yield of 2%, 3% because that worked. Right? And the reader said, yes, I agree, the higher the better for the buyer, the higher the rental yield for it. He is referring to a rental yield, higher the better for the buyer. But I personally do not have the patience to wait for years for the housing price to come down. And rental rate would also go up over time. Hopefully in parentheses, right? This was his words. Yeah, and the key word here is hopefully, right? So it's buying based on hope. And personally, for me, I think that if I cannot get a yield that beats the risk-free rate, right, from owning an asset that's not risk-free, then what's the point, right? I have to be compensated sufficiently for risk, right? That's the way I think. Anyway, in reply to that reader, right, I said, to be sure, I'm not saying that we must wait for prices to come down. It depends on our circumstances. If we need to buy a home urgently for whatever reason, we have to buy. Right. As a joke, right? I mean, if the person shotgun or something, then his parents chase him out of the family home and he had to go and find a place to stay, and he doesn't want to rent and he has the money, well, go and buy lah. However, if we buy investment properties and don't care enough to pay a more reasonable price, thinking that the high rental rates we saw in the past 1 year or so is the norm, we could be disappointed. I'm speaking from experience, right? And I'm really speaking from experience. And many years ago, when my blog still had a public email address, I used to get emails from readers sharing stories and asking me questions. Okay, and this was one email I received back in 2015, right? So this is what the reader had to say. "Hello AK, I read many of your interesting articles on financial matters. And I would greatly appreciate some advice to manage my finances. But of course, I wasn't giving advice. I turned 55 and I'm still working. I live in a 3-room flat, HDB flat, fully paid for. I purchased a 2-bedder private condo in the east for investment purpose and renting it out. The rental is covering my mortgage loan, but the other expenses such as property tax, fire insurance, maintenance, sinking fund, which all amount to more than $7,000 a year, could not be covered. I am thinking of letting the property go. And I said, if you are concerned with your investing for income to fund your retirement, it seems that this condo is more a drain than a pump. If the home loan is going to be paid up soon, then less to worry about. If the home loan had another 10 years or more to go, you are now 55 years old, I might be worried, right? So the key takeaway here, know our motivations, know our circumstances, and if we will know if something is the right tool for us, financial tool for us, right? And then later on in 2018, I had another email similar to that, and he said that this condo investment has also been a drag, right? Reader said that a lot of people like to buy property for investment. I don't understand. To get 4% yield on private property is hard. And I said, yeah, I also don't understand. Right, 4% back, in 2018, I said it was a dream, right? And 3% gross yield was already considered very good. But those were the days when the interest rates were pretty low, I believe. And if you cannot rent it out, it's not 0% rental yield, but negative, because still you have to maintain the property. And in those days, 2018, the vacancy rate was very high. It wasn't always that we have low vacancy rate and then, it's a landlord's market and the people are renting are, grieving because the rental rate is going up and up. No, it wasn't always the case, right? And the reader said, my mom 5 years ago bought a condo on impulse. The rental from initial $2,750 dropped to $2,200. And I know that for a fact because my family had that experience also, right? And still must pay maintenance, property tax, tax on rental income, etc. Negative return, right? And that was in 2018. So don't think that rental rates will only go up and it doesn't go down, right? And that vacancy rate is always going to be low and vacancy rate will never be high, right? You might be surprised, all right? When you look at history, you won't be that surprised anymore, okay? If something like this were to happen again, right? And in 2015, I had an email from a reader talking about people who own multiple properties, right? Some people say one is not enough, I must own more. And then we know this very famous property guru last time by the name of Wendy Quack. It's a lady, I blogged about her before. She also promoted some Brazilian housing project called Eco House or something, which turned out to be a scam. And I think she recently lost a lawsuit and had to compensate a doctor, don't know how much money, I think it was almost $100,000, and she said she owned more than 50 properties or something, and then she was conducting courses on property investments, right? So, but there's another story for another day. Be careful, not all gurus are really gurus, and for the record, AK is not guru. Anyway, back in 2015, this person wrote to me and said that these people invested in multiple properties and they are now retrenched. How like that? How like that? Okay, so I said people do lose their jobs, and for those who are financially leveraged to the max, if they should lose their job, it could be hell, right? And the backstory was, the reader said she attended a workshop and spoke to an uncle in his 50s who was unemployed after he was, and then his friends in the same industries who bought multiple properties were retrenched as well, right? Those were bad times, apparently. And other friends working in a prominent engineering company received letters asking them to opt for voluntary retirement. Voluntary retirement. Those of us who are old enough to remember that was a thing, right? If those multiple properties were rented out and the rentals are able to cover the mortgages, good, but that wasn't the case. And in those days, in 2015, 2016, 2015, also the rental market wasn't good. The vacancy rate was very high and there was declining rent. And if his friends didn't have any emergency fund or an adequate emergency fund, they'll be in big trouble. So don't let greed get to us. Then, of course, some people say, oh, this time it is different. Well, yes, in the past 1 year, it has been different. But for how long more can it remain different? That is the thing, right? So this time it is different. Famous last words. Huh? When we get into real estate, we have to realize that it is a long-term commitment. Right? It is a long-term commitment. So just having this time it is different is not enough. It's not enough. Right? We should be able to see something doing quite well for a long time if you are in real estate. Right? And what Uncle Warren Buffett said before, we want to get in at a price that is so good that even a mediocre sale would yield good results. If we don't care enough to pay a more reasonable price for an investment property, what could happen? What could happen? Right? This was an article in the newspaper back in 2016 that said, up to November this year, more than 800 transactions involving non-landed private properties were loss-making, double the figure in 2015. Analysts told the newspaper that unprofitable deals are common in a cyclical downturn where market sentiment and employment prospects are poor. So we can expect the more marginal property investors who didn't care to pay a more reasonable price and could have bought at the peak, suffering. So financial prudence will not make us rich overnight, but it will ensure we avoid painful falls. And these falls, some of us might not recover from. So it's back to what I told the viewer at the beginning of this video. Right? If we are buying investment properties and don't care enough to pay a more reasonable price, thinking that the high rental rates we saw in the past 1 year or so is the norm, we could be disappointed. And I'm speaking from experience. And now I've shared the experience of so many other readers in the from the past as well. Okay, and I've said this before, that if we are very rich, then we could possibly ignore the rule of 15. Right? It probably doesn't, because we can ride out the storm. Any bumps that come along the way, we can take a few hard knocks. Right? But if you are not very rich, we will have to be very cautious. Right? Which is why I also say if you are very rich, then probably my blog is not for you and my YouTube channel is not for you. It's not applicable to you probably. Okay, so that's all from AK. If AK can talk to himself, so can you. Bye-bye.